Yukari is a risless doormat who has a crush on the most popular girl of the class. However, the day she confesses she loves him back, the government forces him to marry a rich baddie instead. Now he will have to clap both of them while hiding from the law. Before all this happens, for the past 50 years, the government has launched a program to boost the declining birth rate. It pairs individuals based on their genetics and assigns them to their partners, which, so far, has worked brilliantly, resulting in better quality offspring. And there's just one rule: no one is allowed to fall in love before their official partner is announced. But Yukari, a socially awkward and hopelessly romantic teen, thinks the system is flawed because he's already fallen for someone. He can't stop thinking about Misaki, a quiet girl with short hair in his class. While he's lost in his daydreams, his friend Takeda brings up how he longs to fall in love and fears he may never marry. Then, in a moment of defiance, Takeda makes a vow that he won't marry the girl chosen for him. Yukari agrees, and the boys all agree to never get married to defy the government's project. To everyone's shock, Misaki joins the promise too. But when Yukari's friends point out that Misaki hasn't received her pairing notice yet, Yukari dares to hope that maybe she could still be his destined match. That night, Yukari lies in his messy room, thoughts spinning about only wanting to love Misaki. He still has half the eraser he once gave Misaki, a small object that marked the first time he realized he liked her. At dinner, his parents remind him that his birthday is just 2 days away and excitedly mention he will discover who his partner is. That's when Yukari makes up his mind that he can't wait any longer and that he will confess to Misaki. The next day, he finally approaches Misaki. With his awkward expression and nervous energy, he tries to bring up their shared past, but Misaki coldly says she doesn't even remember his pathetic existence, making Yukari devastated. As he turns to leave, he calls out once more, asking her to meet him at the playground near their houses after school. That evening, he waits under the fading light, standing alone like a loyal dog. Hours pass that the police even stop to question him, and he claims he's just building a tomb in the sand. Just as he sadly admits that he has no chance with Misaki, she suddenly appears and grabs his hand. They sit together on a bench, silent at first. Misaki notices the tomb, and Yukari begins yapping about it, revealing his geeky obsession. She laughs and reveals that she remembers how obsessed he was with tombs in 5th grade. It surprises him that Misaki remembers, and she confesses that she never actually forgot him, but she was just too shy to say anything. Yukari pours his heart out. He says he's just an ordinary guy who did everything he could to get her attention, even working hard to get into the same school as her, all because he loves her. Misaki doesn't respond right away, but then, tears start to fall from her eyes. She tells him she still has the eraser he gave her, and that she's loved him ever since.
Yeah, baby!
As that small gesture told her he was a good person. Overwhelmed, Yukari hugs her and confesses again, saying he wants to be with her. They melt together in their hug, and Misaki, not wanting to waste the moment, asks for a kiss. Now that everything is out in the open, she wants to share many things with him, starting with their first kiss. They lean in and share a tender, luscious kiss, but just as the kiss deepens, a message from Yukari's phone interrupts them. Yukari assumes it's from his parents, and instead it's a strange, glitched email announcing his government-assigned partner. He reads through it, and to his happiness, the message briefly shows Misaki's name before it suddenly vanishes. Moments later, 2 government officials, Ichijo and Yojima, arrive in person to deliver Yukari's official pairing letter. He eagerly opens it, only to see the name of another girl as his partner, which confuses him. He tries to explain about the message he just saw, but Ichijo calmly explains that the document she is giving him is the official one, and that official announcements are always delivered face to face. When the 2 officials leave, heartbroken again, Misaki expresses how she is happy to be able to confess her feelings for him, and that she would cherish their moment forever. He feels her hands trembling, and calls her a liar for wanting to give up, but Misaki quickly runs away. Refusing to end it there, Yukari races after her, unwilling to let a single sheet of paper decide their fate, and embraces her while her tears fall. The next day, Yukari's parents plan to take him to meet his government-assigned partner, Rarina. He wants nothing to do with it, so instead he heads to school. Everyone goes quiet when they spot Yukari, as everyone knows he's supposed to be absent today. When Yukari admits he ran away because he doesn't want to get married, the teacher catches him and confines him at school until his parents arrive. While he waits, Misaki shows up and talks to him through the door. She asks why he came. Yukari says he wanted to talk about last night, and that he can't go through with marrying someone he doesn't love, let alone someone he has never met. But Misaki shuts him down. She says what happened last night should be remembered as memories, not discussed. With cold, unreadable eyes, she tells him that if he keeps clinging to it, he'll just become a burden. Then she walks away, telling him to go meet his baby mama. Then he ends up at the arranged meeting where his parents meet up with his soon-to-be in-laws. He's ready to leave the second he steps in, but when he sees Rarina, to his surprise, she's prettier than he expected, and he's instantly folding. The meeting starts, and while the parents hit it off, Yukari's lack of interest is showing, which annoys Rarina. Moments later, Rarina snaps. She stands up, calls him rude, and says she's the only one making an effort. She declares she has no interest in marrying a bum like him and storms out. The parents panic after what just happened, and Yukari's father urges him to bring her back. Feeling a twinge of guilt, he searches for her and finds her hiding in the futon closet. She grabs his hand, pulling him into an awkward position that Mia Khalifa is famous for. But when Yukari notices her tears, he quickly steps back and apologizes. That's when Rarina opens up. She admits she's scared as she doesn't know him, and his cowardly attitude made her think the pairing would never work. Yukari bows deeply and apologizes again, Moved by his honesty, Rurina forgives him. She's glad he's finally speaking instead of shutting down like earlier. Just then, Yukari confesses that he's already in love with someone else, and that the girl rejected him that morning, which shut him down. He panics, realizing how weird it is to talk to his future wife about this, but Rurina gets curious and asks for details. Yukari spills the whole messy love story, and rather than being upset, Rurina becomes intrigued. She wants to know what made him fall for Misaki, and whether he wants to marry her. Still blushing and awkward, Yukari says he hasn't thought that far ahead. All he knows is that when he's with Misaki, his feelings feel real, and that he's happy. Rurina, who has never experienced love, is fascinated. She starts wondering what love really is. Yukari, being a teenage boy, can't help but notice the outline of her plots behind the curtain, but he forces himself to stay focused. Thinking about Yukari's story, she suspects Misaki might be hiding something, and that her sudden change in behavior seems suspicious, but that's just a guess, based on Yukari's side of things. Still, she's so invested, she decides to help him uncover Misaki's true feelings. The two begin to get along. Yukari suggests they go out holding hands in front of their parents to make it look convincing, but deep down, he starts to feel conflicted. The next day, Yukari shows his friends a picture of Rurina, saying she invited him to visit her at school. All the boys are impressed and envious of how cute she is. When Misaki walks in, Nasaka casually asks if she wants to see Yukari's partner, which surprises her, but she coldly says she's not interested and walks away. That afternoon, Yukari visits Rurina's school. When he asks around to find her, one girl mockingly refers to her as Tapeworm and says she's in the infirmary. There, Yukari finds Rurina napping. She says she feels better after resting, then asks him to wait outside while she changes. But when he brings up her nickname, the Tapeworm, she throws the curtain open in a panic, forgetting she's still in her pinky dinky, asking where he heard it from. Then Rurina starts talking about her past. She spent most of her childhood in the hospital and only returned to school late in her life, where all the girls had already made friend groups, leaving her out. Despite her best efforts, she never fit in as her blunt personality clashed with the gossiping girls. Yukari tries to comfort her, saying she's smart and will eventually make real friends. But Rurina says she doesn't want fake ones, which is why people keep their distance and call her the Tapeworm. Yukari admits he doesn't completely understand, but he realizes Rurina struggles with social cues and can't fake feelings. Embarrassed, Rurina punches him in the gut. Even so, Yukari says that her being an open book is kind of a relief, as it makes her easier to talk to even for someone as awkward as him. He realizes he says too much, but she gets flustered by his comments. He points out how it's easy for her to talk to him, and Rurina responds that it's because he's not her friend. The comment throws Yukari off, leaving him with more questions than answers. Just then, she realizes the state she's in, and while Yukari tries to convince her that he didn't see anything, she slaps him anyway. Later, Rurina suddenly remembers why she asked him to visit, and that is because she wanted to hear more about his story with Misaki. As they near the school gates, they spot Misaki walking by. Without hesitation, Rurina walks up and introduces herself as Yukari's government-assigned baby mama. The two girls sit down to talk, while Yukari listens secretly from behind. Rurina says she doesn't want to get in the way and supports Yukari being with Misaki, and that she's genuinely curious about Misaki's feelings for Yukari. At first, Misaki is quiet, but then she opens up and says that she likes Yukari's hair, his shoulders, and how, even though he's shy, he still takes initiative. Rurina is taken aback by the detail, and she understands now that Misaki really does like him, but she's still confused about what makes Yukari so special. So she asks Misaki about it. While Misaki yaps along about everything she loves about Yukari, he listens from the other side, wondering if he's in Misaki's mind the same way she's in his. Afterward, before they split up, Misaki expresses how happy she is to meet Rurina and asks to hang out again. Then, when Yukari approaches Rurina, he sees her in tears, and she expresses how happy she is to make her first friend. As for the first time in her life, she feels like she's made a real friend. Her heart beats fast, and she wonders if this strange new feeling might be love. Yukari quickly shoots that down and says that when you're in love, you want to kiss the person, and when you kiss them, it feels like you'll explode. That's when it hits Rurina that Yukari and Misaki have already kissed. But instead of being angry, she smiles softly and tells Yukari to kiss Misaki again. The next day, Nasaka teases him, asking if Yukari's relationship with Rurina is already over before it even started. Yukari replies quietly that it's not about that, but it's something else. He mentions that Rurina invited him to visit her over the weekend. Nasaka jokes again, hinting maybe Rurina wants a steamy kind of visit. Yukari quickly denies it, saying Rurina didn't even want to get married in the first place. Then Nasaka expresses his amazement over him, saying how Yukari is strangely brave for coming to Rurina's school alone, even though it's an all-girls school. It reminds Nasaka of the first time they met, when Nasaka was being bullied. Yukari showed up back then, but instead of calling a teacher, to everyone's shock, he called 911. Nasaka jokes that Yukari always carries 911 in his pocket, so he can go anywhere, and Yukari isn't sure if that's a compliment or just roasting him for being an idiot. It's been a week since Yukari's birthday, his first kiss, and confession to Misaki, but he wonders why, after that day, Misaki started avoiding him. On the weekend, Yukari visits Rurina's place, and because he's late, Rurina is furious, but her mother comments that Rurina is overreacting. After scolding him, Rurina takes takes Yukari to her room where Misaki is already sitting. Neither Yukari nor Misaki knew about this, as it's all part of Rurina's plan. Misaki feels awkward and asks if she can leave, but Rurina bluntly tells her not to worry, as there's nothing romantic between her and Yukari, and they're not dating, let alone marrying. After hearing that reassurance, Misaki agrees to stay, and Rurina is thrilled. The two girls chat for hours, while Yukari fades into the background like an NPC. When he finally speaks, the girls remember he exists. Then Rurina, deadpan, tells Yukari to kiss Misaki. The blunt request shocks him, and even Misaki has to excuse herself for some private time. Yukari immediately protests, saying Rurina should consider Misaki's feelings, but Rurina insists it's a good opportunity and that she's just trying to help. In the middle of their argument, Misaki returns and surprises them by saying she wants the kiss. Both Rurina and Yukari are stunned. Rurina reassures them she's fine and they don't need to worry about her, while Yukari nearly collapses from shock. Misaki moves first and gives Yukari the chance to kiss her again. Approaching him with tenderness, Yukari chickens out at the last second. Misaki laughs and calls him cute, but both notice Rurina's odd reaction. Misaki excuses herself to leave. At the door, she asks Rurina how she really feels about the kiss, and Rurina doesn't answer. Misaki then says she hopes Rurina will fall in love with Yukari someday, and that it wouldn't be impossible if she tries. Before leaving, Misaki asks again if Rurina is bothered by the kiss. Rurina quickly denies it, but Misaki just smiles and says she will be in the future. Confused by Misaki's cryptic words, Rurina rushes back to her room and tells Yukari to kiss Misaki once a day instead. Later, as Rurina walks Yukari to the subway station, he dares to ask why she made that request. She simply answers that she has no reason, and Yukari falls silent, unsure how to respond. Just then, they run into Nasaka, and he looks Rurina up and down and asks Yukari who she is. When he finds out, he casually guesses she's still a virgin. He doesn't realize he's insulted her, and while Nasaka just walks away without care, Rurina instantly hates his attitude. The next day, during gym class, everyone is exhausted from the heat. Nasaka, still the handsome dude of the class, ignores the girls calling out to him and says everything will stop once he gets his partner pairing announcement. Yukari spaces out, thinking about how even the famous ones end up stuck with this kind of arrangement. As his thoughts drift, Misaki passes by, and he's instantly captivated by her beauty, even though she tries to hide her precious melons, but Yukari can still tell. Things shift when Misaki walks past Nasaka. They exchange a strange look that leaves Yukari suspicious, questioning whether something is going on between them. While changing for class, Yukari is distracted by the thought that he doesn't even notice Takeda left him alone in the locker room. Left behind like an idiot, Yukari runs to his classroom, only for Misaki to stop him and lead him to a quiet, secluded spot at school. She asks what Rurina said yesterday and whether it was about her. Yukari says Rurina didn't say anything bad, and just that she wants him to kiss Misaki once a day. Misaki is stunned by the request, thinking how Rurina still doesn't understand her own feelings. As they stand there, Yukari hears a teacher approaching and quickly pulls Misaki behind a pillar. Fresh from gym class, they smell each other's scent, and instead of pulling away, Misaki leans in and kisses him. Yukari, the awkward, clapped-looking guy, can't believe how he somehow manages to charm the prettiest girl in class and make her fall head over heels. In the middle of the moment, Nasaka silently emerges from an empty room and catches them in the act. Later, after school, Nasaka acts calm and cool as ever. Yukari, still confused, wants to talk to him privately. Nasaka says he has a meeting, but Yukari offers to wait till he finishes. Hours later, when Nasaka returns, he walks past some girls, and among them is Misaki, and he walks past her sharp glare to reach Yukari. He finds him asleep in a weird, uncomfortable position. Just then, alone in the empty classroom, Nasaka briefly reveals his true feelings to Yukari by kissing him while he sleeps,
Why are you gay?
not wanting him to know. Then, when Yukari wakes, Nasaka asks what he wanted to talk about. Yukari hesitates and awkwardly asks if Nasaka likes anyone in class. Nasaka plays it off, saying he doesn't like anyone and calls the question a waste of time, but refuses to tell him his true feelings. That night, during a family dinner, Rurina is invited, and Yukari's mother suddenly asks if he and Rurina had kissed yet, which makes them both nervous. She even brags that she and Yukari's father went third base quickly, calling it practice, making them even more nervous. Rurina asks why couples kiss in the first place, and Yukari's parents just say that it's because they're in love. Still trying to grasp what love really means, Rurina only feels more confused. Later, they go to relax at Yukari's room, and on their way there, Yukari grabs her hand, which makes her feel conflicted, knowing that Misaki is in love with him. Then, when Rurina enters his room, she sees how messy it is, and Rurina is shocked and ends up cleaning for him. While tidying, she finds Yukari's old yearbook and gets excited to see a younger Misaki, and when she does find her, she feels happy. Near the end, there's a picture of young Yukari with Takeda and another friend. Rurina remarks that Yukari looks just as plain as ever, but he doesn't mind, as what matters is that Misaki stands behind him in the photo. Curious, Rurina asks when Yukari first fell in love with Misaki, and whether it was during the eraser moment or before. Caught off guard, Yukari blushes but thinks it over. He decides it was before, but the eraser moment was when he confirmed his feelings. After that, every day at school feels exciting because Misaki is there, and she becomes the most important person in his life. Hearing Yukari's hopeless romantic side makes Rurina flustered, but then Yukari asks if she's ever felt anything powerful. Not necessarily love, but something that makes her heart race. She recalls that years ago when she was still in the hospital, a doctor told her about child mannequins used for training. Since it's a children's hospital, there are no parent mannequins. Seeing them made her heart beat faster, imagining they shared the same fate, separated from their parents. Yukari listens seriously, then jokes that's not something to cherish, as it's a kink. After their talk, Rurina remembers the deal to kiss Misaki every day. Not realizing how ambiguous her position sounds, she asks if Yukari has done it today. Uncomfortable, he hesitates but admits he has. Rurina processes this, then says she's okay with it. She supports Yukari and Misaki being together, but her conflicted expression hints otherwise. Suddenly, she falls onto Yukari's chest, and they both quickly jump apart. The moment breaks when two government officials, Ichiju and Yajima, arrive for a follow-up interview, a week after Yukari and Rurina's pairing announcement. Ichiju explains the system of how genetic compatibility is tested through physical and psychological exams since childhood. Matches aren't based on looks because attraction to appearance is lust-driven, and lust usually leads to failed marriages. While this system aims for lasting love, afterward, Ichiju asks their thoughts, and while Yukari says he's still unsure, Rurina, more analytical, understands but wants clarity on the program's purpose. Dodging the question, Ichiju changes the topic, saying Yukari and Rurina look good together. Then bluntly, she asks if they've kissed yet, claiming most paired couples started bumping bellies within a month just to get started. Shocked and embarrassed, Rurina rejects the idea before Yukari can speak. After the interview, they escort Ichiju and Yajima out. Just before leaving, Ichiju asks Yukari where to find the Takasaki residence. Startled, Yukari asks if she means Misaki, and she nods. He tells them where to go, and Rurina wonders if the visit is about Misaki's pairing announcement. But Ichiju says it's classified and leaves. The thought of Misaki receiving her pairing devastates Yukari, realizing that another man is going to live his dream. Rurina snaps him back, saying Ichiju might be visiting someone else in Misaki's family. But Yukari says Misaki has no siblings, so it must be her. Annoyed by Yukari's easy surrender, Rurina asks if his love for Misaki is that shallow. She says she wouldn't support someone who gives up so easily, and that she'd be disappointed. Motivated, Yukari thanks Rurina and apologizes for making her help him pursue another girl despite being his partner. Rurina says it's also for Misaki's sake, as she wants her to also be happy. Just then, Yukari's mom pops up and reminds Rurina to ask her mother, as they are planning to go camping together. Then, Yukari walks Rurina home, and on the way to the subway, Rurina reminds Yukari to ask Misaki what Ichiju wanted, and tells him he still needs to kiss her. Yukari says he doesn't want to kiss Misaki again, and calls the request unnatural, but Rurina disagrees and thinks that it's more unnatural that he's not allowed to kiss the one he loves. The next day, Yukari tries to talk to Misaki, but despite his best efforts, he doesn't get a chance to talk to Misaki all day. But near the end of class, the teacher asks for volunteers to make a pamphlet. Misaki is assigned, but her partner is absent. And seeing the chance, Yukari volunteers. After school, carrying papers, Yukari spots Misaki talking with Nasaka outside. He feels a pang of curiosity and jealousy, but doesn't dare to ask. Then, during pamphlet making, he brings up Ichiju and Yajima's visit. Misaki confirms they came, but not about her pairing. When Yukari asks why they came, she dodges and asks why they visited his house. Yukari explains it was an interview about the pairing system. Misaki wonders about their answers, and Yukari says they don't fully understand their feelings yet. Misaki says Rurina is a good match for Yukari as they're alike, both wanting to help others, and that Rurina seems more determined. Yukari admits that hearing about Ichiju and Yajima visiting Misaki broke him, but Rurina encouraged him to keep his spirit high. Misaki tells him it doesn't matter if she gets her announcement, as he will always be important to her. Right then, being all alone, she initiates another kiss. Later, after school, Misaki meets her friend Shu for a secret conversation. Shu can tell something's wrong just by looking at her, and Misaki confesses she has something to protect, even if it means she has to lie, but she can't lie to her own feelings. That night at Yukari's house, Rurina calls to ask him for an update, and Yukari, feeling relieved, tells her that Misaki hasn't gotten her notice yet. Then, she tells him that for their upcoming camping trip, she has invited Misaki, and Yukari starts panicking. To avoid awkwardness, Yukari decides to invite Nasaka the next day. Nasaka immediately refuses, as he hates mosquitoes and has no camping skills, but Yukari begs him until Nasaka agrees, just to shut him up. However, when Yukari mentions that Rurina and Misaki are coming, Nasaka is stunned. The day of the camping trip arrives, and Yukari's parents drive ahead with all the supplies, while the rest of the group takes the train. Nasaka shows up first, then Rurina and Misaki arrive together. Both girls are surprised to see Nasaka tagging along. Rurina wastes no time bringing up how he crushed her pride the other day, while Misaki doesn't look particularly thrilled to see him either. The train ride is awkward and quiet, as tension hangs in the air, but Rurina breaks the silence by pointing out how awkward things feel. Nisaka raises an eyebrow and asks if she's always an idiot, and Yukari just laughs, saying that she is. Curious, Yukari brings up the conversation he saw between Nisaka and Misaki earlier. Nisaka brushes it off, saying it was nothing, but that only makes Yukari more convinced that Nisaka actually likes Misaki. At the campsite, Yukari's mom recruits him and Nasaka to help cook lunch while the girls go to explore around the camp. Yukari assumes that since Nasaka's a stylish pretty boy, he must be good at cooking, but to his disappointment that illusion dies quickly, as Nasaka is an absolute idiot sandwich who can't even cut meat properly, and worse, a buffoon who tries washing potatoes with soap. In the end, Yukari does all the cooking, while Nasaka watches helplessly. Still, the moms assume Nasaka was the one who made the meal. After lunch, Yukari heads down to the river to find the girls and gets hit with the unexpected sight of fan service. He hides behind a rock, sneaking a glance at what he calls the goods. Nasaki catches him instantly, and Rurina calls him out, asking what he's doing, and a red-faced Yukari tells them that lunch is ready. Rurina invites him to join them in the water, but she slips and sprains her ankle. Yukari carries her back to camp, and the moment gets awkward where there's a charged atmosphere between them. Rurina's face turns pink as she makes soft, happy noises that make Yukari Jr. stand at attention. After arriving at the camp, she suddenly runs off, forgetting about her sprained ankle entirely, while Misaki watches everything quietly. Nasaka shows up beside her, casually asking why she agreed to come on the trip in the first place. Misaki says it was because Rurina seemed so happy about it. The two begin talking more naturally, and when Yukari sees them from afar, he grows even more suspicious of Nasaka. Back at camp, Rurina's dad treats her ankle with ice. Yukari finds out he's a vet and calls him cool. Her dad asks what Yukari wants to be, and Yukari shares his fascination with ancient tombs, how they hold stories from a time before writing, and how he wonders who those tombs belong to. Rurina is caught off guard by his thoughtful side, and Misaki listens silently, smiling. That night, after the dads head to bed, Yukari and Nasaka are still awake. Yukari wonders aloud what the girls are up to, and Nasaka simply tells him that it's girl stuff. Still suspicious, Yukari pushes a little and gets close, asking Nasaka if he's hiding something. Nasaka freezes, thinking Yukari might have figured out his pickle-loving secret. He is then about to say something, but Rurina bursts in to stop them. She challenges them to a courage test in the woods, pairing her with Nasaka, while Yukari goes with Misaki. Then during their walk, Nasaka asks Rurina if she dislikes him because he mentioned her virginity. She tells him that that's a part of it. Nasaka scoffs, saying Yukari would be in trouble with someone like her. Rurina defends Yukari fiercely, saying that while he might have a short-circuited brain, he's also very kind and doesn't hurt people, which is something a lot of people don't have in Rurina's eyes. Then she admits that she's rooting for Yukari and Misaki to end up together. But Nasaka immediately calls her out, warning her that she might be making things worse for both of them. Meanwhile, far behind, Yukari and Misaki walk quietly. They both know this was Rurina's idea, but Misaki doesn't mind, and she asks to hold his hand since it's dark. Then she brings up the earlier moment, asking Yukari if she'd been the one to fall and get hurt. Would Yukari have carried her? Without even thinking, he declares that he would. Just as she's about to say something more, a firefly drifts by. Misaki takes his hand and asks him to follow it into the woods. They walk deeper, but suddenly, they accidentally fall into a pit. Yukari lands right on top of Misaki, revealing an accidental fan service. He tries to get up, but Misaki wraps her arms around him instead. She clings to him, eyes soft and full of longing, not wanting his body to leave hers. Elsewhere, Rurina defends her matchmaking, saying that she just wants Yukari and Misaki to be happy. But Nasaka hits her with reality, asking her that if Yukari chooses Misaki, what happens to her? He tells her that she will face consequences by marrying another man she doesn't recognize, potentially far worse than Yukari. He adds that rejecting a government match would go on Yukari's record, and it could ruin his future, as her college applications and job prospects will all be harder to get, which will destroy his dream job. Rurina is stunned, as she hadn't thought of it that way. They're silent until another firefly appears. They follow it and find Yukari and Misaki still in the pit, clinging to each other. Nasaka immediately understands the situation. Rurina, still oblivious, says she wants to climb down too. Now all four are in the pit, and while Rurina leads the way out, Nasaka teases Yukari for hitting the plot jackpot, which Yukari immediately denies. On the way back, they spot more fireflies and follow them to a glowing river. Everyone goes quiet, taking in the beauty. Nasaka complains about them being bugs, and Yukari teases him for it. Meanwhile, Rurina stares at the scene in awe, and Misaki asks if she's scared. Rurina shakes her head, saying that this is her first time seeing fireflies. Yukari chimes in that fireflies only drink water, lay eggs once and then die. But while their lives are short and tragic, Misaki adds that their light is their last effort to find love. It turns the moment soft, almost dreamlike, and they all grab each other's hands, wondering what love really is. 2 days later, back in the city, Misaki goes one way, Nasaka another, and Yukari walks alongside him a bit to have a quick talk. Yukari apologizes, thinking Nasaka didn't enjoy the trip. Nasaka shrugs it off, saying he had fun, but then suddenly says he's sorry. Yukari's confused, asking him what for. He tries asking if it's about the secret he's hiding, but Nasaka doesn't answer. He just keeps walking, which makes Yukari even more suspicious. Later, Yukari returns to Rurina, and she notices something's off about him. To lighten the mood, she brings up the tombs, and Yukari immediately brightens, yapping along about his favorite tombs. He realizes that she was worried about him, so he thanks her, and in that quiet moment, He realizes something, that their relationship is slowly changing bit by bit, without anyone forcing it, and it's growing. The night after camp, Rurina has a dream where Yukari is on top of her, kissing her with surprising intensity, and telling her that they'll be pumping until a junior is on his way. She wakes up mortified and curses herself for imagining something so ridiculous. Later, still shaken, she heads to the library to research kissing, specifically, French kissing. She learns it can boost the immune system, which sounds great, until she reads about the 80 million bacteria involved. Disgusted and intrigued, she's still processing this when a classmate approaches. She recognizes her as Arata, the ranked second-best student in the school, and while she recognizes the name, she doesn't know the face. Arata, however, knows Rurina. She casually calls her Tapeworm, a nickname that makes Rurina storm off instantly. Arata chases after her, apologizing. She hadn't realized Rurina hated the nickname and asks what she should call her instead. Still irritated, Rurina demands to know why Arata even wants to talk to her, and Arata admits she wants to be friends. She then reveals that her older sister was one of Rurina's doctors when she was sick, and used to tell stories about the brave little girl who never cried, even though her parents were rarely around. That story stuck with Arata, and now that they're at the same school, she wants to know the girl behind the story. Rurina hesitates, as she's not sure how to handle a friendship like this, as she only has one friend. But Arata lights up, saying she'd love to help her figure it out. Meanwhile, things aren't going so smoothly elsewhere. Nasaka's been skipping classes, and Misaki has started dodging Yukari more often. Every time he tries to talk to her, she brushes him off with excuses. As Yukari contemplates confronting her again, his teacher interrupts, ordering him and Takeda to go home early for a government training session. Yukari has no idea what this is about, but Takeda says his parents signed him up. Just then, Nasaka casually shows up at school. He asks where they're headed, and when Yukari explains, Nasaka's expression shifts, as he knows more than he's letting on. At the government building, Yukari unexpectedly runs into Shu, Misaki's old friend, and he wonders if she's also here for training. Inside, Takeda is already with his partner and waves Yukari over, and he assumes Rurina is just running late. Surrounded by pairs who already look like future couples, Yukari starts questioning whether he could really see himself with Rurina. Then she appears, rushing in and breathless, her hair down and glowing. Yukari is taken aback by how different she looks, and when he praises her for her new look, they both blush in silence. She then pulls out a rare keychain, shaped like an Aztec arch, and hands it to him. Yukari lights up with excitement and starts thanking her for it. He offers her one in return, a keychain he thinks is shaped like a cat, and while Takeda and his partner dislike it, Rurina loves it. Takeda's partner comments that they look like a real couple, and Rurina scoffs at the suggestion, muttering that looking close doesn't mean being in love, and that she's definitely not dreaming about kissing someone like Yukari. She storms into the hall to avoid further embarrassment, leaving Yukari wondering if she'll ever see him as a real option, and that maybe she's hoping for someone who truly loves her. Elsewhere, Shu watches Yukari on a monitor in a nearby control room, closely watching him with interest. In the main hall, Ichijo kicks off the session, and what starts as a lecture on the program's basics quickly shifts into something more intense. Officers hand out plot safety locks, and Ichijo announces that the day's real focus is physical practice between partners. She speaks casually, asking if everyone is satisfied with their relationships, and explains the benefits of bumping bellies. She declares that the perfect partner isn't about looks, but it's like the glass slipper fitting Cinderella, and everyone is expected to try. The mood shifts when Ichijo shows a film about romance and intimacy. As the screen lights up, Yukari can't help but picture Misaki with him, while Rurina clutches her keychain tightly, imagining Yukari as both are overwhelmed. Yukari notices how, unlike him and Rurina, others react casually, and even Takeda looks unbothered. While he struggles to keep up, Yajima suddenly appears at his side, whispering. He asks the big question of whether he will choose the girl he loves or the one he's matched with. He warns him that this next stage will be watched closely. As the lights return, Ichijo announces that each pair will be given their own room for a fun-time sleepover. Someone mutters about a penalty if they don't comply, and rumors spread that non-compliance could lower their academic standing and trigger a call from the government. Yukari freezes, Yajima's words echoing in his head. When he and Rurina arrive at their room, it's already set up perfectly. Suspicious, Yukari starts checking for hidden cameras, considering making a run for it. But then he thinks about Rurina and that if he escapes, she might face the consequences too. Now he's stuck, torn between protecting her and respecting her boundaries, all while navigating the pressure of a system that insists intimacy should be forced to prove they're a perfect fit. All those fears and anxieties swirl in Yukari's mind until they take control. In a panicked, irrational moment, he pushes Rurina onto the bed, bracing himself over her with trembling arms for the almighty plot progression. At first, he thinks he's just going through the motions and just pretending. But when he sees that she doesn't resist, something in him breaks. He leans in to kiss her, and while it's clumsy and desperate, it steals her first kiss. The moment he pulls away, he knows it was a mistake when he sees Rurina's eyes fill with tears. Stunned and ashamed, Yukari backs off and sinks to the floor, fumbling for an excuse. He mumbles that he thought they were being watched and that if they didn't perform they'd be punished, as he didn't want her to get in trouble. But Rurina doesn't accept that. She wipes her tears and tells him that government surveillance of private citizens is illegal, and that if the system really relied on violating people's dignity, it would collapse under its own lies. She doesn't know who filled Yukari's head with fear, but if it turns out to be true, she wants to sue whoever's responsible. And that's when it hits him, and how foolish he's been, letting paranoia and guilt override basic decency. He lowers his head in shame, unable to face her. Rurina stays on the bed, and her heart feels like it's been shattered, as her first kiss was taken in a moment that felt more like pressure than passion. Yukari finally whispers that he hadn't thought it through, that he's sorry, and that he panicked. But Rurina turns to him sharply, eyes still glistening. With her voice trembling, she questions why he did it. He doesn't have an answer, and just repeats that he didn't want her to suffer, not realizing he's the one who inflicted the pain. Something in Rurina twists, something cold and unfamiliar. When Yukari reaches out, she instinctively flinches, saying that she doesn't feel safe around him anymore, and asks that they keep a distance between them for a while. The night passes in silence, and at dawn, Rurina quietly gathers her things and leaves. Racked with guilt, Yukari storms off to confront Yajima, demanding answers and accusing him of lying. But Yajima just looks at him and calmly asks him that, if it were Misaki in that room instead of Rurina, would he have done the same? Yukari freezes, and the question slices right through him. The days crawl by, and summer vacation starts. Yukari sends Rurina message after message, each one more apologetic than the last, but she doesn't reply. Even his little sister starts asking when she's coming over again, but he has no answer, so he just keeps waiting. Then one afternoon, his phone buzzes. His heart leaps, thinking it's Rurina, but it's only a group chat about a school gathering. He goes anyway, feeling like someone trying to fix a shattered vase with tape. At school, he walks into the gym and sees Nasaka reading Juliet's lines aloud while Misaki is cast as Romeo. He asks why Nasaka agreed to such a ridiculous role, and a classmate explains that it's punishment for skipping class. The idea of Misaki and Nasaka playing star-crossed lovers sends a strange jolt through Yukari. For a second, he wants to tell Rurina about this, but he stops himself from doing it, not wanting to hurt her. Later, even while building stage props, his mind drifts to her. He fingers the keychain she gave him until suddenly, someone bumps into him. The trinket falls and he reaches down, but gets smacked on the hand with a hammer. Yukari is rushed to the infirmary, and when Misaki overhears what happened, she bolts. In the infirmary, Yukari just got bandaged and feels very relieved that Rurina's keychain is safe in his hand. Suddenly, Misaki pops in, worrying about him and struggling to breathe after running there. He tells her not to get worked up over his injury, but she shoots back, asking why he had been acting strange. He glances at the keychain and murmurs that maybe it's karma, but Misaki doesn't catch it. He changes the subject to how they haven't spoken since the camping trip, which was a whole month, and that she was always surrounded by others too busy to talk. Misaki admits that it was her choice, and feels that it was wrong to get close to him while Rurina was still his partner. She says she tried to stay away for Rurina's sake, and for her own, but seeing him hurt still hurts her, and she pleads with him not to be reckless. She places herself in front of him, and asks him to look her in the eyes, demanding he tell her what happened. Yukari finally opens up, just a little. He doesn't explain the full story but says he was careless, and he hurt Rurina, and he regrets it more than anything. The next day, Misaki meets Rurina for pancakes. The mood is light at first, as Rurina always lights up for pancakes. But then Misaki brings up Yukari, recalling how great his hot cakes were in cooking class, and how she wants him to make them again someday so she can taste them. Then gently, she shifts the conversation and tells Rurina that Yukari's been really out of it lately, and asks if she knows why. Rurina's fork pauses, her eyes fall to the plate. She admits she hasn't spoken to him in days, but while she doesn't want to see him, she misses him a lot. She doesn't understand what's happening in her heart, but Misaki knows exactly what's happening. Back at school, Yukari is carrying lunch as part of his assistant duties when he bumps into Yajima again. Yukari pulls him aside and vents to him about how he wants to make things right with Rurina, while also not wanting to hurt Misaki. Yajima sighs, telling Yukari he's too honest for his own good, and instead of giving him a solution, he tells him a story. A boy and a girl received a pairing notice. The girl told the boy she'd reject it if he wanted to marry her, but the boy hesitated, not knowing what he wanted. Because of it, he waited a long time until it was too late. The boy then said that if he could go back, he would want to be honest with himself. Yajima admits the story is his own, and he looks Yukari in the eye, telling him that he still has time so he should go with his gut. After hearing those words, that night, Yukari sends one last message to Rurina. He invites her to the burial mounds, the place where she once showed real interest in his passion for history. But this time, he expects nothing from her. Not a reply, not a phone call. The next morning, his phone is still silent until his mother hands him a letter, which, to his surprise, is from Rurina. She writes that she still doesn't know what to feel, and she listened to him talk about history simply because he loved it so much, so that was enough to make her curious. She heard from Misaki that he's been spacing out during the summer festival preparation, and she tells him to cheer up and be careful, as the summer festival only comes once a year. Yukari clutches the letter like it's something sacred, as to him it is a sign of a chance. He heads to school with a smile he hasn't worn in weeks. That same day, Misaki rehearses her lines, and her thoughts drift to when she first met Rarina and how Rarina admitted she felt lonely without Yukari. Back then, Misaki could have told Rarina that she was in love, but she didn't say the word. She was afraid of losing everything she already had, and for wanting love from Yukari too selfishly, while knowing they could never be together. She sees herself like a child staring at the toy she always wanted, but is too scared someone else will take it and love it first, and she's scared knowing that one day Rarina will learn to love Yasuki, leaving her alone and without love. After getting Rarina's letter, Yukari's mood lifts instantly, and he throws himself into helping with the class drama preparations. He paints backdrops, sets up props, and smiles more easily than he has in days. Later, while he's stepping out to grab some materials, Misaki stops him in the hallway. She gently asks if his hand is feeling better. Yukari nods, saying it's fine now, and quickly apologizes for worrying her. He adds that Rarina finally replied, and while she hasn't completely forgiven him, they're speaking again, and things feel a little more hopeful. Misaki smiles and says they'll be okay, but behind the smile, she hides her own quiet grief of watching someone she cares about move further away from her. That afternoon, while everyone's occupied with their roles, Misaki stands at the front of the classroom practicing her lines. But one person is missing, Nasaka. The others ask Yukari to find him, and he eventually discovers Nasaka alone in an empty classroom, reading his script. Yukari tries to get him back, but before he can say much, a classmate bursts in to show them the finalized costume design. The group is buzzing with excitement, except for Nasaka, and the moment he sees the dress meant for Juliet, which he will be playing, he stiffens and storms out. Yukari hurries after him, trying to reason with him, saying that he should do it as a team player, but Nasaka snaps and tells Yukari that he doesn't understand what it feels like, and how humiliating it is to look like James Charles. He accuses Yukari of being either obliviously kind or just pitying him, and he doesn't know which is worse. When Yukari tries to stop him again, Nasaka slaps his hand away, and the air freezes. Just then, Nasaka's father suddenly appears out of nowhere, and when Nasaka tries to run away, the father jumps dramatically from the stairs above like he's auditioning for an action movie. The next thing they know, the three of them are seated around a table, eating sushi. The dinner is awkward. Nasaka's father tries to bridge the gap, but Nasaka stays distant. He gently scolds his son for hitting someone, telling him that's not how to treat his friend. Yukari, trying to ease the tension, takes the blame and admits that he was pushing too hard. And hearing that, Nasaka finally softens and apologizes. Yukari just chuckles, saying maybe he wanted some of Nasaka's handsome riz to rub off on him. Nasaka's father laughs and says Nasaka wasn't always this closed off, as he used to be cheerful and warm. But something changed along the way. Yukari insists that Nasaka is still admired and respected. He brings up his role in the play as Juliet, and Nasaka shuts him up to avoid his father knowing. Then Nasaka excuses himself, and Yukari finds himself alone with the man. Nasaka's father looks him in the eye and thanks him sincerely, telling him that despite being closed off, Nasaka chose him as his friend, and the father asks Yukari to keep being his friend. Later on the walk home, Yukari brings up the play again, and Nasaka confesses how he hates being the center of attention. Yukari insists that he's perfect for it, and that nobody can do it the way he can. Nasaka shuts him down, saying how Romeo and Juliet is a stupid, tragic love story between two idiotic people from different worlds, who end up dead, and that he doesn't care for it. Yukari hesitates, but then a thought clicks into place, and he remembers Yajima's words about being true to one's feeling. Yukari states how the story of Romeo and Juliet is not about dying, but it's about love surviving against the world that's against, which reminds him of the world he's currently living in, with the government pushing him to love someone he barely knows. Nasaka looks at him with interest, and Yukari continues how he wants people to feel, and know that love doesn't always follow rules, and that doesn't make it less real. There's a long silence, but then Nasaka sighs and agrees to play Juliet just for him. Yukari expresses his joy, and when asked why he's so happy, Yukari tells him how happy he is that Nasaka accepts him despite not knowing him deeply. The next day, Nasaka returns to school, and the production kicks into high gear. During costume fitting, the girls take Misaki's measurements for Romeo, but when they get to the good stuff, they can't believe just how big her plots have progressed. And when they tease her for it, the boys are all blushing outside, wishing they were involved. Then, when it's Nasaka's turn, the girls all ogle over his slim waists like middle-aged cougars, and to his horror, they decide that to play Juliet, he will need big padding to make him thicker. Meanwhile, Rarina keeps sending letters to Yukari, each one more thoughtful than the last. Elsewhere, Misaki throws herself into rehearsal as Romeo with Nasaka opposite her as her Juliet. The school buzzes with energy with every class buried in preparations for their projects, and it's the kind of chaos that feels alive. Later, Yukari goes to pick up the festival poster from the student council, and on the stairs, he accidentally drops a number of them. Just then, Misaki pops up to help him pick them up and offers to help him carry them. After delivering the posters, he asks if she's doing okay, and she admits that she's not the outgoing person everyone thinks she is. Misaki explains that she's not an extrovert by nature, but she didn't want to disappoint the class, so she forced herself to accept the role of Romeo. Even if it's hard, she wants to see it through. She then asks if Rarina will come. Yukari says he sent her a ticket and hopes she'll attend, as he really wants her to see it, not just for himself, but for Misaki and Nasaka too, who have both given their all. Misaki adds again, saying that everyone in class wants her to kiss Nasaka on stage, which shocks Yukari, but she reveals that neither Misaki nor Nasaka wants that. Yukari is relieved and then curiously asks Misaki what she thinks of Nasaka. Misaki says that Nasaka is surprisingly different when he's serious about something, and then she turns the question back to Yukari on whether he likes Rurina. Yukari hesitates, and he expresses that while he likes Misaki, he isn't sure how to define his relationship with Rurina. He then asks Misaki what love means to her, and she answers that it's a combination of that happy feeling when someone she likes is around, the excitement of meeting them, and the sadness of missing them. It makes her feel like she can do anything just to make them smile, and right now being in love feels like a dream for her. She expresses how, for the longest time, she wanted her first kiss with Yukari, to go places with him, to be noticed by him, and she got it all exactly like her dream. But just like a dream itself, she also wants to end it because she knows she's not the one meant for him, as her name isn't on that notice paper. Misaki starts crying, realizing her own heartbreak. She got everything she wished for, but it only made her want more, even though she knew Yukari wasn't meant for her. She says that once someone is officially paired, everything else feels like a lie. She thinks Rurina is perfect and wonders if Yukari has already fallen for her, as she's not even sure if he still likes her at all. Overwhelmed by Misaki's honest and emotional confession, Yukari takes a step forward and intimately hugs her. She begs him not to hug, but he refuses to let go, and she tells him that while she loves it when he touches her, he doesn't know what love really is. After that moment, Misaki apologizes for her outburst and tells Yukari to forget about it. She says she likes Rurina, as she's a sweet, cute friend of her, and it hurts to see her sad. Days pass, and soon the day of the festival arrives. Yukari is put in charge of promoting the class play in full costume, but he gets nervous. Meanwhile, Misaki steps out in public, showing off her costume to help draw attention to their performance. Watching her from a distance, Yukari begins to reflect on his feeling, and he wonders if Misaki has been forcing herself to smile this whole time. While he's lost in thought, Misaki gets a surprise visit from her old junior high friends, and Shu is there too. Spotting them, Yukari quietly slips away from the crowd and ends up bumping into Yajima again. Yukari jokes that Yajima is skipping work, but Yajima denies it and says that he's just here to keep an eye on a few students from Yukari's school. Then he brings up what Yukari asked him about before, the email he received with Misaki's name, and the official paper saying Rurina. Yajima explains that he looked into it, and that the system confirms Rurina is Yukari's official partner, with all the calculations matching. But the email Yukari received did exist, and someone may have tampered with it, or it could have been a system error. Yajima says he can't say for sure, but then he asks Yukari what he would do if Misaki were his partner. Yukari freezes at the question, but sensing his confusion, Yajima shifts the topic and suggests he go meet up with Rurina, who's already at the gate. Outside, Rurina stands nervously, and Arisa, who came along with her, teases her about wanting to leave, but Rurina insists on staying despite being nervous. Eventually, the two head inside, and Rurina asks if Arisa is okay being here, and Arisa casually replies that she is, as she wants to meet Rurina's partner. Rurina tries to play it cool, saying Yukari's just a regular guy, but the expression on her face only makes Arisa more curious about this boy who can make Rurina act so flustered. Meanwhile, Yukari is still struggling with doubt. He doesn't know if Rurina's still upset with him or how to face her. Then, suddenly, Rurina pops up, standing right in front of him, looking like a snack, which folds him sideways. The moment is awkward, and they both fumble. Rurina quickly asks where the drama club is and dashes upstairs, leaving him behind. And Yukari sighed, thinking maybe she still doesn't want to talk to him. Trying not to overthink, he wanders through the crowd until he spots Nasaka and chases after him, asking if he can see him in costume. Nasaka flatly refuses, and Yukari teases him, but Nasaka won't budge. Still, Yukari smiles as it's good to see Nasaka being himself again. Noticing something's off, Nasaka asks what's bothering him. Yukari admits that Rurina came, but things are awkward between them after he hurt her, and he's not sure where they stand. Nasaka simply tells him that Rurina wouldn't be here if she were still mad at him, and that hits Yukari hard, realizing that maybe she really has forgiven him, and maybe she came because she wanted to. He heads back to the classroom, where everyone is running around doing last-minute preparation. Yukari tries to help, but no one really needs him, and when he does pitch in, he just ends up making things worse. He tries to talk to Misaki, but someone interrupts, and their moment slips away. The room eventually clears out, and Yukari stands in the middle of it, realizing he hasn't really contributed anything meaningful to the play, while the feeling of him being a useless bum weighs on him more than he expected. In the changing room, Nasaka is already dressed as Juliet. Yukari joins him and vents, saying he doesn't feel like he did anything to help the festival, but Nasaka disagrees, and he reminds Yukari that it was his speech that convinced him to take on the Juliet role and connect with their classmates again. Nasaka hasn't done anything like this in years, but he's now here because of him, so he refuses to let Yukari call himself useless. Then, as if proving his point, Nasaka turns around and reveals his full Juliet look. Yukari goes completely speechless for a second, even questioning his own pickle-loving preferences. Flustered, Nasaka scowls and storms off, muttering that Yukari better watch the play properly because he did all of this for him. Then, the play begins. Misaki and Nasaka put their entire hearts into their performance. To them, it doesn't feel like acting, and it feels real, like their characters are truly in love, willing to risk everything, even just to be together. The audience is captivated, and Yukari forgets his guilt, his regret, as he's swept up in it all. When the curtain falls, thunderous applause erupts, and a standing ovation follows. After the show, Yukari steps out of the hall and runs into Shu. The atmosphere is awkward as Shu's the quiet type, and Yukari's not sure how to break the ice. Then, from out of nowhere, Shu brings up something unexpected. The partner announcement that had Misaki's name on it. Yukari stiffens and turns to her, asking how she knows. And at the worst possible time, Rurina walks up and hears everything. Shu says she can't reveal much, and Yukari asks her if Misaki was the one who told her, but Shu insists that Misaki isn't the type to gossip. To change the subject, she asks Yukari what he thought of Misaki's performance. Yukari answers honestly that she was beautiful, like something precious that might disappear at any moment. Shu nods, sharing the same sentiment. Then, without hesitation, she says that she believes that Misaki is his true partner, but Rurina is also there. She immediately steps forward and asks Shu directly what she means by saying that Yukari's partner is Misaki. Shu doesn't answer, and instead she walks away, saying that no matter how hard people try to suppress it, they can't stop themselves from thinking about someone. She adds that Misaki has something she needs to protect, even if it means she has to break through her lie, and that's what Shu is trying to protect too. Still confused, Rurina turns to Yukari and presses him, questioning what Shu means by that for Misaki to be Yukari's partner. Yukari admits there was a mistake when he received the government pairing notice, and it wasn't that he or Misaki tried to keep it from Rurina, but they just didn't know how to bring it up. Rurina asks if her name was the one that was wrong, and Yukari immediately says no. Flustered, he explains that Yajima confirmed it, and Rurina is his official partner. There's a brief pause between them. Then Yukari realizes that he never properly apologized, but Rurina tells him not to worry about it, as there's a more pressing issue now. They decide to ask Misaki for Shu's contact number, but before they can, Arisa suddenly appears, saying she's been looking for Rurina. When she sees Yukari, she recognizes him as the awkward flyer boy. Rurina introduces them, and Arisa teases that Yukari looks like a basic chill guy, but in a charming way, and Yukari feels mildly hurt by the word basic. Then they go to Yukari's classroom, and Rurina and Yukari approach Misaki to praise her performance. When Nasaka walks out in costume, Rurina is immediately taken in by Juliet's look, until Yukari casually points out that it's Nasaka, and Rurina's expectations crash hard. Not long after, Nasaka's family arrives. His brother laughs, realizing that it was his little brother cross-dressing as Juliet. Annoyed, Nasaka grabs him by the collar, nearly choking him, until their father steps in and calmly breaks it up, saying the play reminded him of their mother. Their father then turns to Yukari and mentions he recently heard about the camping trip Yukari took Nasaka on. He thanks him for taking Nasaka out to touch grass. Then, unexpectedly, he invites Yukari to Nasaka's brother's wedding, since some relatives can't attend. He even says Yukari can bring Rurina and Misaki along. Nasaka immediately protests, but his brother overrules him, insisting that Yukari is welcome. Later that night, Yukari talks to Rurina on the phone. They both realize they never got the chance to ask Misaki for Shu's number, and Yukari promises to ask her the next day. The following afternoon, Yukari manages to get the contact info, but now he doesn't know how to text Shu. He hesitates, unsure what to say to someone he barely knows. He introduces himself in the message and hits send, uncertain if she'll respond, but when he gets a text back, he sees that not only did Shu not respond, but she also blocks him. Meanwhile, Rurina finally has her first proper interaction with her classmates. She tells Arata about it, and Arata laughs, saying it's probably because Rurina seems more approachable now, as before she looked too serious and intimidating. As they chat, Yukari texts Rurina, asking if they can meet. After school, Rurina runs to the playground and finds Yukari kneeling in the dirt, building a tiny tomb and mumbling about how clapped his looks really are. She asks if it's the Joenka tomb, and Yukari lights up, but Rurina cuts him off, admitting she only asked to get his attention. She sits beside him and gently asks what happened. Yukari tells her that Shu blocked him and wonders if he said something wrong. Rurina offers to message Shu herself, and Yukari doubts she'll respond. But to his surprise, Shu replies almost immediately, saying she's free to meet after school tomorrow, and that Yukari can come too. The next day, Yukari and Rurina visit Shu's school. The towering building overwhelms Yukari, but Rurina seems unfazed. She even points out that the Igarashi family, Shu's family, was one of the original developers of the government's Fate program. Shu meets them outside, and Rurina immediately brings up the main question. But Shu says this isn't the right place to talk and leads them to a nearby cat cafe. While the girls play with the cats, Yukari approaches Shu and brings up the text and asks why she blocked him. Shu casually replies that it's because he's chopped, and Yukari is stunned. Rurina jumps in and asks if the government really matched Yukari and Misaki, and whether Shu supports that relationship. Shu's answer plainly states that she doesn't support it, and she only wants to protect Misaki. Then Shu turns the question on Rurina, asking how she can support Misaki being with Yukari, knowing that Yukari is her official partner. Rurina simply says she likes their love story, and that she's happy to know them both. Shu presses further, questioning Rurina gets out of it, and Rurina has no answer. Shu tells her she's being selfish and that she wants her to stop. Yukari then asks Shu why she told him that Misaki is his true partner if she doesn't support their relationship. Shu answers that Yukari and Misaki's bond is stronger than the government's calculations. She starts explaining her past when she used to resent Misaki for always faking her smile. Then one day, she caught Misaki secretly trying to buy another class's photos, the ones with Yukari in them. Misaki had asked Shu to keep it a secret, and Shu helped her buy it to avoid suspicion. That was the first time she saw Misaki's real feelings shine through, where Misaki had looked genuinely happy. Shu admits she never really understood why Misaki liked Yukari, and she tried her best to find a reason but couldn't. Misaki once told her to understand that her liking Yukari is not something Shu could understand, and she hoped that whoever Yukari ended up with would feel the same way. Shu still doesn't understand what Misaki sees in him, but she now knows that love can make someone shine. Rowena suddenly asks if Shu is related to the people who created the fate system. Shu admits that her grandmother was one of its founders. According to her, when two destined partners meet, they change each other's world, and all other love fades in comparison. Yukari quietly concludes that maybe he and Rowena are meant to be together, and that stuns everyone, even Shu. Rowena asks again for Shu's opinion, and she admits she still doesn't understand everything. But if the system truly brings people together for life, then she's curious if that love will shine the way Misaki's does. Before they can continue, Yajima suddenly appears out of nowhere and cuts in. Irritated, Shu tries to argue, but Yajima confirms Yukari and Rowena's pairing is accurate and that there's no mistake. He tells Shu to stop spreading nonsense, but Shu insists she isn't lying. But Yajima pushes back, saying that Misaki's kind of love is different, as it's beyond the government's calculations and it can't be measured. Then he asks Shu point blank whether she knows how to help Misaki. Defeated, Shu quietly packs up her things and says that Yajima's right, and that if Yukari doesn't choose Misaki, there's nothing she can do. She tells them to forget everything she said and leaves. Still confused, Yukari asks how Yajima even knows Shu. Yajima explains that Shu grew up around government offices, and with her family's influence, many hoped she'd continue her grandmother's work, due to her brilliance. But even brilliance has limits. Afterward, Yukari walks home with Rowena, who asks him whether he's going to pick Misaki. Yukari tells her he doesn't know, but that Rowena's straightforwardness is one of the things he likes about her. He then grabs her hand and takes her somewhere. The day of Nasaka's brother's wedding finally arrives. Yukari, Rowena, Misaki, and Nasaka walk together toward the venue. The girls are visibly excited, while Nasaka already looks like he wants to turn back. Yukari apologizes, thinking their presence is bothering him, but Nasaka shakes his head, saying that it's not them but he just doesn't want to be at the wedding. Curious, Yukari asks why. Nasaka explains that their parents are obsessed with the arranged pairing system and believe it's fate. Now, whether it's him or his brother, someone has to live up to that ideal image of a happy, fated marriage, and he's just glad it's his brother, not him. Yukari quietly reflects on that, questioning whether he really likes Rowena after how he's been drawn to Misaki for much longer, long before Rowena entered his life. But then he recalls what Shu said, and that Misaki is hiding something. As they walk through the hallway of the venue, a marketing staffer approaches, mistaking them for two couples. Misaki quickly corrects the misunderstanding, saying only Yukari and Rowena are a pair, and they're all just guests. Still, the marketer asks if Rowena and Misaki would be willing to model for a wedding pamphlet, assuring them that it's for a young couple campaign. The idea makes Yukari nervous, just imagining the girls in wedding dresses flusters him. Misaki, seeing it as practice, volunteers immediately, and Rowena agrees as well, and the two get ready for the shoot. They get to the venue where Nisaka's brother gets married, but Yukari finds himself distracted. He wonders if he's truly accepted this pairing system, and that being with Rowena sometimes makes his love for Misaki feel like a fading dream. Meanwhile, Rowena looks genuinely happy, and Misaki notes that Rowena seems brighter lately. Rowena shares that her classmates have started talking to her more, and admits she doesn't know exactly what changed, but she knows it's thanks to Misaki and Yukari, and she's grateful for their friendship. Misaki is surprised by Rowena's sincerity and expresses that she's happy they've become friends, and wants them to stay friends for a long time. She even jokes that she hopes to be invited to Rowena's future wedding. Then, hiding her deeper emotions, Misaki adds that Rowena would look beautiful in a wedding dress, and she would love to be there to bear witness. After the ceremony, as guests gather for photos and prepare to throw the bouquet, Yukari realizes he left his phone and heads back to look for it, only to stumble upon Misaki alone in a room crying. He tries to comfort her, but she stays quiet. Then, softly, she asks him to lie if he must, and she just wants to hear that he loves her. Without thinking, Yukari kisses her, while behind the door, Rowena sees everything. That night, Yukari couldn't stop thinking about what happened. Misaki apologized afterward, saying she was selfish for asking but that she feels better now. Still, Yukari feels weighed down by guilt, and he wonders if he's hurting Misaki again, just like Shu said he would. The next morning, Yukari's mother wakes him, reminding him that both families are heading out for an onsen trip. Once everyone arrives, Yukari's father asks him to walk around with Rowena while the others check in. As they stroll, Rowena is distant, still thinking about what she witnessed. Though she treasures the time they spend together, Part of her feels like it's all pointless. Yukari tries to lift the mood by saying she seems more cheerful now than when they first met, and Rurina quietly replies that Misaki said the same thing. After their short outing, they return to the inn, only to find out that their parents arranged for them to share a room. Rurina hesitates, still feeling awkward after what happened, but Yukari reassures her that he won't do anything freaky. She eventually relaxes and says she's okay with it now. That evening, both families gather for dinner, and Rurina's mother thanks Yukari for coming along and tells him to enjoy the onsen. Later, Yukari soaks in the men's bath, and it turns out Rurina is alone on the women's side. Though separated by a wall, they talk, and the quiet between them creates an oddly intimate atmosphere. Rurina brings up what Shu said about fate. Yukari admits he still doesn't understand it either. Rurina agrees that it doesn't really make sense to her, but then Yukari says something unexpected. He tells her that everything he's done up until now, studying, improving himself, even caring about how he looks, it's all been because of Misaki, because he wanted to be good enough for her. He expresses how he thinks that maybe there is such a thing as fate, the kind that leads you toward someone, not the kind that a system decides. That hits Rurina hard, and she realizes the version of Yukari she likes now only exists because of Misaki, and it makes her feel like she's already lost. That night, neither of them could sleep. Rurina gets, and out of nowhere, she apologizes for saying harsh things earlier. Seeing how down she is, Yukari tries to lighten the mood by bringing up something harmless, but Rurina cuts him off. She looks him in the eyes and speaks firmly that he has to choose Misaki over her. Yukari is stunned by Rurina's words, but she continues, explaining that before the government's announcement, she didn't know what she wanted from life. All she ever did was study. But everything changed after she met Yukari and Misaki, and because of them, she started thinking about the fun times they shared before she fell asleep. Then, when she's not with them, she imagines what they'll do the next time they meet. In that period, she even made new friends at school, and her whole world felt like it had been touched by magic, all because of Yukari and Misaki. Rurina says she doesn't care whether Yukari and Misaki are officially paired or not, and she just wants them to be happy, even if it hurts her a little. She brings up the government's rule for dissolving a pairing that if both parties claim to be incompatible, they'll be reevaluated over 6 months. During that time, they must keep up the lie, and if they succeed, they won't be punished, though they won't be repaired in the future either. Rurina believes Misaki can take that route, so she and Yukari can be together. After she explains all this, Yukari says it would be hard to pretend to dislike her, and then unexpectedly he starts to cry. Rurina tries to reason with him, saying she's doing this so he and Misaki can be together. Yukari confesses that he loves Misaki deeply and truly. Rurina smiles and says she loves being Misaki's friend too. Despite being abandoned, Rurina says she'll be fine. Even without the pairing, she'll always be on Yukari's side, and she loves seeing Misaki happy. That smile of hers reminds Rurina how beautiful love can be, and she wants to see that smile again. With those words, the two finally come to an understanding. Rurina recalls what Shu once said, that Yukari wouldn't be able to choose Misaki. But now, with this agreement, he can, and he can protect her. Rurina is grateful for everything that's happened, and Yukari feels the same, as she is his partner after all. And then Yukari admits something he can't keep hidden anymore. He tells Rurina about the kiss he shared with Misaki at the wedding, as it doesn't feel right to keep it from her, but Rurina simply tells him that it's okay. Silence settles over them for a while. Then Rurina speaks again. She says that once her pairing with Yukari ends, she'll be matched with someone else, and she hopes that one day she'll truly know what love feels like. But before she holds hands or kisses someone new, she wants to practice with Yukari. Yukari is taken aback at first, but eventually he leans in and kisses her, slowly amping up the intensity, while they enjoy each other's warmth. In that moment, Yukari begins to question himself again, questioning whether he doesn't really loves Rurina, despite the tenderness in their kiss. They both push their feelings aside, clinging to the idea that if they just keep lying to themselves, maybe their feelings for each other will change. They hug and know that by lying they can protect someone else, who is more important than protecting their own hearts, and that this decision feels both right and wrong. That night, while holding hands, they watch the moon together, and Rurina tells him she loves him, but he doesn't catch her words. A week passes and the day of the photo shoot for Misaki and Rurina arrives. Meanwhile, Yukari is in turmoil as he doesn't know what he feels anymore, and it's like he's back at the beginning, lost all over again. Nasaka stops by, bringing a cake from his father as thanks for Yukari attending the wedding. He asks why Yukari isn't at the shoot, and Yukari says that if he goes, he'll have to lie. Nasaka admits he doesn't get it, and Yukari turns the question on him, asking Nasaka whether he has lied before. Nasaka says that he lies all the time, and asks Yukari why he lied. Yukari admits he's done something irresponsible, something that hurt both Misaki and Rurina, and says that he never should have agreed to Rurina's plan. Nasaka asks him why he agreed if he's just going to regret it, and looking serious, Yukari says that maybe he liked Yukari, or even both girls. Yukari knows that in the end he will hurt one of them. Yukari admits he doesn't know what to do and he just doesn't want either of them to suffer because of him. Nasaka asks why Yukari always blames himself, and Yukari says it's because he's plain, stupid, chopped looking and not special. Nasaka agrees, casually calling him a useless scrub. But then he adds that nobody is to blame except for themselves for loving someone too deeply and getting their hearts broken. He adds that it's the painful truth, but a truth nonetheless, and all Yukari can do is try to make them happy, even if they end up hurting. Nasaka believes that Yukari just needs to be brave and honest with himself. And with that, Yukari bolts out of the house, running to find the girls. Left behind, Nasaka reflects quietly. As this moment, it's his own lie, born from feelings he doesn't confess. Meanwhile, the girls are preparing for the shoot. Ririna has already told Misaki about her plan, but Misaki says it's impossible, and there's a reason she can't tell either of them because she cares about them too much. Ririna pushes her, saying that if Misaki has a problem, she should just say it, as she wants to help. But Misaki only smiles and says she's glad Ririna is Yukari's partner, because Ririna is kind. Ririna doesn't buy it and calls her a liar, but Misaki doesn't deny it, and admits that she will keep the lie as truth if it's the only way she can protect this love. Then Misaki asks where Yukari is, and Ririna doesn't know, as he has been quiet lately. Then, the photo shoot begins. Elsewhere, Yukari is still running, unsure what to do, unsure what to say, as he's loved Misaki for so long, and she loves him too, but ever since Ririna came into his life, everything has changed. He doesn't want a world where either of them disappears, and he knows it's selfish, but for him it's true. When he finally arrives, the shoot is already underway. Misaki and Ririna stand before him, dressed in wedding gowns, and Yukari praises them, calling them beautiful. Misaki can't hold it in, and tears fall as she thanks him. The marketer asks if Yukari wants to join them in the photo, and Ririna quickly says yes, as she wants all three of them in the picture together like they're his two baby mamas. In the end, Yukari still doesn't choose, and he doesn't say who he loves, leaving the future uncertain with either love or lies that bind them. But in the end, they're all just trying to protect their hearts. Comment down below, 2 pretty liars if you watch till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.